I never thought I'd be sharing this story online, but I need to get it off my chest, and frankly, I think you guys might appreciate the sheer absurdity of what happened to me last month. Names changed for obvious reasons, but everything else is exactly how it went down. I am a merchant mariner. Have been for about 8 years now. It's not the most glamorous job, but it pays well, and I get to see parts of the world most people only dream of. The downside is that I am away from home for months at a time, which isn't great for relationships. That's why meeting Vanessa seemed like such a miracle 2 years ago. She said she understood the sailor's life because her dad had been in the Navy. She never complained about my long absences, always welcomed me home with open arms, and seemed perfectly content with our arrangement. We weren't officially married, but she wore a ring I gave her, and I considered her my wife in all the ways that mattered. After my latest 3-month voyage across the Pacific, all I wanted was a hot shower, a cold beer, and Vanessa's company. But when I got home to our apartment in Seattle, she wasn't there. No big deal. She worked as a freelance photographer and often had gigs that kept her out at odd hours. I texted her that I was home early, then decided to head down to the Rusty Anchor, this dive bar near the docks where a bunch of us sailors hang out. The place was practically empty when I arrived, just old Pete behind the bar and 2 other guys sitting in opposite corners. I recognized them both vaguely as fellow sailors, though we never properly met. One was a weathered guy around my age with a thick red beard who I'd seen on the docks a few times. The other was younger, maybe late 20s, with a sleeve of nautical tattoos. The usual, Pete, I said, sliding onto a stool. He nodded and poured me a whiskey. Neat. Good voyage? He asked. Same as always. Lot of ocean, not enough sleep. I downed half my drink in one go, feeling the pleasant burn. Glad to be back to Vanessa though. The effect was immediate and bizarre. Both of the other men in the bar snapped their heads in my direction simultaneously. What did you just say? Redbeard asked, setting down his beer with enough force to create a small splash. I said I am glad to be back home to Vanessa, I repeated, confused by their reaction. The younger guy stood up, his face a mask of confusion. Vanessa who? I hesitated, not understanding why these strangers were suddenly interested in my personal life. Vanessa Carter, my wife. Well, girlfriend technically, but we. Brunette, green eyes, little heart-shaped birthmark on her left shoulder. Redbeard interrupted, his voice strained. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. Yeah, how do you know that? The younger guy walked over slowly, pulling out his phone. He turned the screen toward me, showing a photo of him and Vanessa at what looked like a Christmas party. Because that's my girlfriend. For the past year and a half. Redbeard let out a bark of laughter that contained no humor whatsoever. Well, this is fucking rich. He pulled out his wallet and tossed a photo on the bar. Him and Vanessa on a beach somewhere tropical. She's been my girl for almost 3 years. The three of us stared at each other in stunned silence while old Pete wisely decided to leave the bottle of whiskey on the bar before retreating to the back room. There has to be some mistake, I finally said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew. The way she never wanted to talk about her past. How she never introduced me to any friends. How she always seemed to have money despite her supposedly irregular photography gigs. When are you usually at sea? The younger guy asked, his voice hollow. And that's when the pieces started falling into place. February to May, then August to November, usually, I said slowly. Redbeard's face darkened. I am gone May through August, then November through February. The younger guy completed the terrible puzzle. And I do June through September, then December through March. We had never crossed paths because Vanessa had orchestrated the perfect rotation of sailors in her life. When one of us returned from sea, another was just shipping out. 3 men, 3 incomes, 3 separate lives she was juggling with apparent ease. Old Pete returned with 3 fresh glasses. Sounds like you boys could use another round. This one, on the house. As we poured ourselves medicinal doses of whiskey, I realized this was just the beginning of the strangest homecoming of my life. We sat in stunned silence for what felt like an eternity, each nursing our whiskey and trying to process the bomb that had just detonated in our lives. Old Pete had the good sense to turn up the jukebox to give us some privacy as we sorted through this mess. So, I finally said, breaking the ice, "I am Jack." "Marcus," said Redbeard, extending a calloused hand that I shook automatically. "Evan," the younger guy muttered, still staring at his phone as if hoping the photo of him and Vanessa would somehow reveal this all to be an elaborate prank. We exchanged details about our relationships with Vanessa, and the similarities were both comforting and sickening. She had the same routine with all of us, passionate reunions when we returned, tearful goodbyes when we left, and the perfect excuse for why she couldn't visit us at ports. "My passport expired," or "my photography business needs me here." She even has the same fucking birthday present for each of us. Marcus growled after I mentioned the custom compass she given me last year. "Let me guess. Engraved with, 'Find your way back to me.'" "Goddammit," Evan muttered, pulling out the exact same compass from his pocket. 3 years, Marcus said, shaking his head. 3 fucking years I've been saving for a house with her. Bought land up in Anacortes. Was going to surprise her next month. She's been helping me pay for my sister's medical bills," Evan revealed, his voice cracking slightly. "Or at least, that's what I thought the money was going toward." I felt sick. She told me she was saving my portion for our wedding next spring. The three of us fell silent again, each lost in mental calculations of how much money we given her over the years. Between the three of us, it had to be well into 6 figures. "We need to confront her," I said firmly, pulling out my phone. "Right now." "Wait." Marcus put his hand on my arm. "We need a plan. She's clearly not an amateur at this. If we just storm in demanding answers, she'll have some story ready." Evan nodded. "She's had years to perfect her lies. We need to catch her completely off guard." That's when my phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. "Hey sailor. Just got your message. So happy you home early. Finishing up a photo shoot. Be home in an hour. Can wait to see you." I showed the others the message. "She doesn't know that I know. She doesn't know that they met." A slow, dangerous smile spread across Marcus's face. "Then let's use that to our advantage." We hatched a plan over the next 2 whiskeys. It wasn't elaborate, but it didn't need to be. The simple truth would be devastating enough. An hour later, I was sitting on our couch when I heard Vanessa's key in the lock. I texted the other 2 her address, and they were waiting in a car outside. "Jack," she squealed when she saw me, dropping her bags and running into my arms. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming home early? I would have prepared something special." I held her tightly, breathing in her familiar perfume, trying to reconcile this woman I loved with the manipulative liar she apparently was. "I wanted to surprise you," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Well, you certainly did." She kissed me deeply, and I felt my resolve wavering. How could something that felt so real be such a lie? "I missed you so much," she murmured against my neck. "These 3 months felt like forever." "Yeah, about that." I pulled back slightly. "I was thinking maybe we could invite some friends over to celebrate my return. I met a couple of guys at the Rusty Anchor who seemed cool." A flash of something, concern? Fear? Crossed her face before she covered it with a smile. "Tonight, I was hoping for some alone time with my man. They right outside actually," I said casually. "I told them to swing by in a few minutes. You'll like them, I promise." The color drained from her face so quickly I thought she might faint. "Jack, who exactly did you meet at the bar?" The doorbell rang right on cue. "Why don't you get that?" I suggested. "I'll grab us some drinks." I watched from the kitchen doorway as she hesitantly opened the door. The look on her face when she saw Marcus and Evan standing there was something I'll never forget. Pure, undiluted panic. What? How? She stammered, backing up into the apartment. Hello, Vanessa, Marcus said coldly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Or should I call you, my love, like I have for the past 3 years? Or, sweetheart, like you asked me to? Evan added, following him in. Vanessa's eyes darted between the three of us, her mind clearly racing to find an explanation, an escape route, anything to salvage the situation. I can explain, she finally said, her voice small and unconvincing. Please do, I responded, crossing my arms. Explain how you've been playing house with 3 different men for years. Explain where all our money went. Explain the identical birthday gifts and the recycled love notes. It's not what you think, she began, tears welling in her eyes. Those tears had always worked on me before, but now I could see them for what they were, another weapon in her arsenal. Then what is it? Marcus demanded, because from where I am standing, it looks like you've been running a very profitable long con on 3 men who were stupid enough to trust you. Vanessa's shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought she was going to confess everything. Instead, she straightened up, wiped her eyes, and something shifted in her demeanor. The vulnerable woman disappeared, replaced by someone I didn't recognize at all. You want the truth? She asked, her voice suddenly steady. Fine, I'll give you the truth. None of us was prepared for what came next. The truth, Vanessa repeated, a cold smile replacing her tears so quickly it was unsettling. She moved to pour herself a glass of wine from the bottle on the counter, her hands perfectly steady. Gone was the panicked woman of moments ago. Please, enlighten us, Marcus growled, his massive frame tense like he was preparing for a physical blow. Vanessa took a slow sip of her wine before responding. The truth is that none of you ever really knew me. And why would you? You were all too busy projecting what you wanted onto me. The perfect, understanding girlfriend who waited patiently at home while you gallivanted around the world. That's not fair, Evan interjected. We were working, not vacationing. She laughed, a sharp sound without humor. And I was working too. Just not as a photographer. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. This was your job, conning sailors. I prefer to think of it as providing a service, she corrected, perching on the arm of the couch with casual grace. You all got exactly what you wanted. A beautiful woman who asked few questions, made no demands, and was always available when you were in town. In exchange, I got financial security. Seems like a fair trade to me. Marcus slammed his fist against the wall, making us all jump. We gave you our hearts, not just our money. Did you? Vanessa questioned, unfazed by his outburst. Or did you give your hearts to the ocean, to your ships, to the freedom of being untethered? I was just a comfortable port to dock in temporarily. Her words stung because there was a kernel of truth in them. The sea had always been my first love, but that didn't excuse her betrayal. How many others are there? I asked, dreading the answer. Just us 3, or is there a whole rotation of sailors you rejuggling? Vanessa smirked. Would it make you feel better if I said you were special? That I limited myself to just 3 men? The truth is, it varied. At one point, I had 5 different relationships going. But you 3 have been the most consistent revenue streams. Evan looked physically ill. The money I sent for my sister's treatments, paid for my condo in Maui. She finished for him, not a trace of remorse in her voice. A good investment, actually. Property values there have skyrocketed. You, sociopath, I whispered, truly seeing her for the first time. She shrugged. I am a survivor. Do you have any idea what it's like to grow up with nothing? To watch your mother work herself to death for scraps? I swore I'd never end up like her, dependent on unreliable men who could disappear at any moment. So instead you became the unreliable one, Marcus said, his anger seemingly replaced by disgust. Preying on men who trusted you. I never promised any of you exclusivity, she countered. You all just assumed it. That was a blatant lie, and we all knew it. She had talked about marriage with each of us, about futures together, about fidelity during our long absences. You wore my grandmother's ring, Evan said quietly, pointing to her left hand where a simple band still rested. It wasn't my ring, I realized with a jolt. It wasn't Marcus's either, judging by his confused expression. It's a beautiful piece. Vanessa admired the ring, twisting it around her finger. Antique, isn't it? Don't worry, I have all your rings. I switch them out depending on which one of you is in town. I am quite organized. She walked over to a decorative box on the bookshelf and opened it, revealing 3 distinctly different rings nestled inside. The sight of my mother's sapphire ring, the one I saved for years to buy, sitting next to the others made something break inside me. How did you keep us from finding out about each other for so long? I asked, trying to understand the mechanics of her deception. It wasn't that difficult, she explained, almost proud of her system. You all have predictable schedules, different social circles. None of you are particularly active on social media, and I have a separate phone for each of you, with different numbers. As if to demonstrate, she pulled 3 identical iPhones from her purse, each in a different colored case. Blue for me, green for Marcus, black for Evan. She literally color-coded us. The hardest part was keeping the stories straight, she continued, warming to her subject now that she saw we weren't going to get violent. Making sure I didn't mix up which one of you had the sister with cancer, which one had the mother in Florida, which one hated seafood despite being a sailor. That last detail hit me hard. I was the one who ironically couldn't stand seafood despite my profession. It was a quirk Vanessa had always found endearing. Or pretended to, anyway. Why are you telling us all this? Marcus asked. You could have made up some excuse, tried to play us against each other, something. Why confess everything? Vanessa's expression shifted subtly, and for a brief moment, I caught a glimpse of what might have been genuine emotion. Because it's over now, isn't it? She said simply. The game's up. And frankly, I am tired. Do you know how exhausting it is to maintain multiple fake relationships for years? To keep all the lies straight? To never be able to relax and just be myself? You chose this, I reminded her, feeling no sympathy. I did, she agreed. And I do it again. But now it's time for me to disappear and start fresh somewhere else. New names, new men, new stories. You think we just going to let you walk away? Evan challenged. After everything you've taken from us? Vanessa's smile returned, cold and confident. What exactly do you plan to do? Call the police? And tell them what? That your girlfriend was seeing other men? That you voluntarily gave money to a woman who never actually committed to you legally? Good luck with that. She was right, and we all knew it. There were no legal documents tying her to any of us, no joint accounts, nothing that would constitute fraud in a legal sense. She had been careful. Besides, she added, reaching for her purse, I've prepared for this possibility. She pulled out a folder and tossed it onto the coffee table. Inside were dozens of printed screenshots, private messages, embarrassing photos, financial records. Insurance, she explained calmly. I have enough dirt on each of you to make your lives very uncomfortable if you decide to pursue this. Nothing illegal, of course. I am not stupid. But enough to create problems with your employers, families, friends. The 3 of us stared at the folder, then at each other, the full extent of her manipulation dawning on us. You really thought of everything, didn't you? I said quietly. It's what I do, she replied, standing and straightening her dress. Now, I think it's time for you all to leave. I have packing to do. But Marcus stepped forward, blocking her path to the bedroom. Not so fast. You missed something important in your perfect plan. For the first time that evening, uncertainty flickered across Vanessa's face. What are you talking about? Vanessa's confident demeanor faltered slightly as Marcus towered over her. Marcus pulled out his phone, held it up, and pressed the record button to stop a recording in progress. I've been recording this entire conversation since we walked in. Every confession, every threat. The color drained from Vanessa's face. That one, hold up legally. Maybe not in court, Evan chimed in, catching on quickly. But in the court of public opinion? When we post it online with your full name and photo. When we share it with all those other sailors at every port who might be your next marks. I stepped forward, finding my voice. We may not be able to get our money back through legal channels, but we can sure as hell make sure you can pull this scam again. At least not in any port city where sailors talk to each other. You wouldn't, she whispered, but the uncertainty in her voice betrayed her. Wouldn't, we? Marcus countered. You've taken years of our lives, hundreds of thousands of dollars combined, and you think we just going to walk away? That folder of dirt you have on us, nothing in there compares to a recording of you admitting to systematically conning multiple men. For the first time that night, Vanessa seemed genuinely rattled. She glanced at her purse, then toward the door, as if calculating her options. What do you want? She finally asked, her voice tight. The three of us exchanged looks. We hadn't planned this far ahead. Restitution, I said firmly. Every penny you took from us. I don't have it all, she protested. They spent a lot of it. The condo in Maui is a good start, Evan suggested coldly. And whatever else you purchased with our money. Marcus nodded. Your fancy car out front. The designer clothes. The jewelry. All of it. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. And if I agree, you delete the recording? No, I replied immediately. We keep the recording as insurance, just like you kept your little folder. The difference is, we won't use it as long as you cooperate. She stood there for a long moment, weighing her options. Finally, her shoulders slumped slightly in defeat. Fine, I'll give you what I can. But it will take time to liquidate everything. We got time, Marcus said. Unlike you, we're honest about our schedules. We'll be checking in regularly. And one more thing, I added. Those rings, they belong to us. Without waiting for permission, I walked over to the decorative box and reclaimed my mother's sapphire ring. Marcus and Evan did the same with theirs. These, at least, were ours again. It's been 6 months since that night in Vanessa's apartment. I'd like to say we got everything back, but life isn't that neat and tidy. We did manage to force her to sell the Maui condo and split the proceeds 3 ways. We recovered about 60% of what she'd taken from us over the years before she disappeared. Despite our threats, she vanished one night after making a substantial payment. Maybe she decided cutting her losses was better than continuing to pay us back. The folder of dirt she had on us turned out to be mostly bluffs, embarrassing but hardly devastating information. Nothing worth chasing her around the world for. I sometimes wonder if she's running the same scam somewhere else, perhaps with a new name and a new look. Part of me hopes she found a legitimate way to make a living, but I know better. People like Vanessa don't change, they just adapt their tactics. As for us 3 sailors, we formed an unlikely brotherhood. Marcus, Evan, and I meet for drinks whenever we in port at the same time. We warned other sailors about Vanessa, showing her picture around the docks and bars. It's not much, but it might save some poor bastard from going through what we did. The strangest part is that sometimes, in the dark hours of a long watch at sea, I miss her. Not the real Vanessa. I never knew her, but the woman I thought she was. The one who understood the call of the ocean but was always there waiting when I returned to shore. Last week, I was in a bar in Singapore when I overheard a sailor talking about his amazing girlfriend back home who really gets the sailor's life and never complains about the long separations. I bought him a drink and told him our story. Maybe he check her background more carefully than we did. Maybe he won. T. The C teaches you that some lessons have to be learned the hard way. As for me, I am more careful now. I keep my money close and my heart closer. But I haven't given up on finding someone real, someone honest. The ocean is vast, but sometimes, in the most unexpected places, you find exactly what you looking for. Maybe next time I recognize it for what it actually is.